Thanks for the support as a channel member, Mumongu Gaming. Well, we did not expect to be here. I certainly didn't expect to be here. But all of a sudden, we find ourselves in a season review, which is fairly standard, and a Premier League transfer special, which was not on the cards yet. Hello and welcome to Club 3, Part 14 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our season review and transfer special off the back of a glorious promotion season with Barnsley. We are going to be in the Premier League next year. We have 35 million pounds to spend. Not a huge amount of extra wage budget, which, to be honest, the amount of pay rises I've already been asked for, we could fill that wage budget up just with the current squad. So I need to be a little bit careful that we're not offering new contracts to players who could potentially end up as fringe players next year. I'm looking at the likes of, even someone like McGeehan, who has he's regularly been a bench warmer this year. He's only started 26 games for us this season compared to starting 34 last year. I guess it's fairly standard for him, but he's 29 years old. He turns 30 during the course of the season. He's not as good as Rimanota or Mowat. We've got Traore, who's younger with potential. Is someone like McGeehan going to be someone who's going to get Premier League game time if we get to July and go and spend £8 million on a midfielder, which we might do because we've got lots of money to spend. So offering him a big new contract now would be mad, especially when he's got a value of 10 million quid. He's getting on a bit. He's the sort of player who I might look to cash in on. So need to be a little bit careful with who we're selling and how we're selling them. As you can see, there's a lot of our team who are drawing interest from other clubs. I've just noticed Hilson is now all of a sudden a better keeper star rating wise than Woodman. Have I been playing the wrong goalkeeper? Interesting. We'll worry about contracts and signings and sellings in a minute, but first, the usual end of season review stuff. So we have the Barnsley overall best 11. Have any of our players forced their way in? Rimanota is in the all-time Barnsley best 11. I knew it. And Hilson has made his way in too. None of them are actually in the starting 11 for it. So the starting 11 does have a very familiar look. It shows how unchanged this Barnsley team has been from me coming in, really, because Collins in goal. He was here when I arrived, but we got rid of him. Borthwick Jackson left just before I arrived. That he's the reason we had money to spend when I arrived. Without him leaving, we wouldn't have been able to sign Chong when we did, and Hornby and the likes of them. Stevens, Diaby, Williams, they were all at the club before I arrived, as was McGeehan and Mowat, as was Wilkes, Beera and Brown. So this core of the team that's got promoted, no, I didn't sign any of them. And then Woodrow up front, who's another one who left before I arrived for big money. Again, it's one of the reasons we were able to sign the players we signed. The bench has got a bit more of a Kev look to it, with Hilson, Chong, Rimanota, Hornby, all my signings. And I think if we'd have had another season in the Championship, these players would be forcing their way into the all-time best 11. As it is, maybe Chong will still be part of the squad, the team regularly. Not so sure about the rest of them, depending on what we're able to bring in over the summer. So our player of the year is Mowat with 37% of the vote, then Williams with 28%, McGeehan 22%. Goal of the season goes to Brown for this effort against Fulham. Let's have a little look at it. I don't know if this is one that was in a video before. I don't remember. But let's have it's from a corner. How can you get a goal of the season from a corner? Okay. That's how. I'll allow it. What a goal. Signing of the season goes to Tanganga, and I think that's fair. We had a big problem of not having enough defenders. It was earlier this season we had to play a 17-year-old centre-back and alongside another untried centre-back. We couldn't find a centre-back in the summer, and I regretted it, and I righted that wrong at Christmas. Yes, we probably overpaid for him a little bit. Yes, there's a chance he might not be good enough to take the step up, but it was super important to have him around as another option at the back for that run in. So yeah, I think that was a very important signing. And Jordan Williams getting Young Player of the Year. I forget that he's young enough to qualify for that. Still only 24. He's wanted by a lot of clubs who've got a lot of money to throw around, but a 4-star player makes him already a decent Premier League player. He's been at Barnsley a long time. Another one who is here not only before I was, but right at the start of the save. You would expect, with Barnsley's history, for him to be one that would probably get sold on this summer. But with us moving up into the Premier League, maybe we don't have to sell someone like Williams. Although we have got Livramento. Is that how you say his name? It's been so long since I played him. Yeah, Livramento. We've got him coming through. Again, if we were in the Championship, we'd be selling Williams this summer and moving Livramento up. But the whole policy surely has to change a little bit. Now we're in the Premier League. We've got to keep our best players, at least for this season. We've got to keep the best ones. So top scorer, Hornby on 22 goals. Best average rating was Williams, 7.28. Beera, most assists. Woodman, best pass completion from our goalkeeper. That tells you an awful lot about our midfield. In fact, all that really tells you is that we do short goalkeeper distribution. So those passes are actually just passing it out to the centre-backs. So the fact he's not doing that 100% of the time is a bit of a worry. Brown, most man of the match awards. Diaby's 14 yellow cards. That's why we needed to bring in another defender, and Burke, the 1 red card of the season. Team of the year, Hilson in goal, a back four of Burke, Diaby, Stevens and Williams, McGeehan and Mowat in midfield. Where's Rubinotta? Chong, Beera and Brown behind Hornby up front. That looks about right, I think. Season review, obviously massively overachieved. We were expected to finish top half. We've ended up automatically promoted, and wowzers, this looks like it's got a lot of new stuff on it. Let's negotiate this and find out what's going on. So I'm happy to still not sign players over 28. I'm happy to still sign young players, play entertaining football. I still don't want to play defensively. Why do they always try and put that in? High tempo pressing football is fine. We play gegenpress. Possession football, again, it's fine. We're good at keeping possession. So I'm happy to add those in. I don't know why we need a club culture that has 7 or 8 things on it though. Can't they just let me do my thing? Minimum 2 year, yeah, that's fine. So they are looking to fight bravely against relegation, which I think that's the one way you can get relegated and it's still okay. But that being said, they want us to stay in the Premier League for the next 5 years. So get rid of defensively solid. I'm not interested in it. What are you going to do? Sack me? They might sack me. Let's just leave it on there. I don't want to get sacked. So we do have to be defensively solid. I don't think that means we have to play a defensive system. I think that means don't concede 100 goals. But we're Barnsley in the Premier League. We might. This is the dynamics at the moment. So our team leaders are McGee, Mowat and Beera. All 3 been at the team a long, long time. And I do wonder if we're breaking those 3 up this summer. Team meeting. Right. We've got to be passionate. Congratulations. We need to add some players. Absolutely delighted with promotion. You've all done well. I'll have to strengthen over the off-season if we're to avoid getting involved in a relegation battle. I think that's the best one. I'd expected a little more realism. What? Isn't that what I said? Fine. Well, that's killed the morale right at the start of the summer. So we're not going to have our promotion form. Yay. Right. Now we get some serious scouting on the go. Let's just scout all of these that have come up. See, we're still scouting a bunch of kids. Our scouting package. We need to be able to up these, but we don't have enough scouting budget. We've only got £7,000 left. We need that to tick over, and then hopefully we'll get a good enough scouting budget. We're in the Premier League. We've got to, at the very least, be scouting Europe. But we can't afford to do it right now. I guess we could move some of the wage budget over. In fact, there's probably an argument to do that now. So to get the scouting budget that we want, what do we need? So if we want Europe for both, we need, if we've got like a month left, we need 50 grand going in there. So let's just do that. And then say world for both. Can we adjust that? Where'd you click there? Just get scouting everywhere. Right, boys and girls, I have my first signing of the summer. I'm not going to make the mistake I made last year. I'm getting players in early if I can. There's another one I'm trying to sign just there. But firstly, we have sold a few. We've let Mavididi, he's gone to MK Dons for £3.6 million, which seems like a cracking piece of business for someone who came in on a free transfer as a striker, spent 3 years at the club, scored 10 goals, and we've sold him on to a team right at the top of the Championship for £3.6 million. The prices you can charge now we're in the Premier League, it's lovely stuff. Cottrell has gone to St Mirren for 200,000, which, yeah, I mean, he wasn't... I can live with that. And Wilkes is on his way. I thought I'd actually already sold him. Oh, there you go. He's joining Konyaspor for £3.5 million on the 1st of July. So he's going to be going very shortly. Because, again, we don't need him. He on the left-hand side, he's our third best left winger. He's our third best right winger. He's our fourth best striker. I would like to think, although he's a very good squad player to have in the Championship, for someone who didn't really... He started 4 games last year. If we can get £3.5 million for him, we move him on. But we have made a signing, and the first signing of the summer is Giulio Maggi. I think that's how I'm going to say his name. I'm sure you'll let me know down in the comments how you actually say his name. He's come in from Portsmouth with £7 million, or nearly £8 million. You might be saying, Kev, why are you signing players from Portsmouth? Because, and if you remember, we have a couple of issues. Firstly, reputation-wise, we have the lowest reputation in the Premier League by a mile. And we were struggling last year to find players who were better than what we already had. And anyone who wasn't English, we were struggling because of work permits. So the fact that this guy can come in and get a work permit is handy. It means we don't have to focus on English players who are naturally more expensive. And because he's coming in, because he's a player who's maybe playing below his level, he's had a year in League One, a year in the Championship. He was up in the Premier League with Sheffield United for a few years, but never really getting in the team. But I would like to think he should be able to get in our team. If we have a look at him as a midfielder, what I did is I know I don't normally look at the attributes, but if we compare him to McGeehan as an example, who I think is probably on his way out, and I think we can probably sell him for more than we've spent on Maggior. But if we compare all of the key stats, Maggior, better defender, better physicals, better speed, better vision, not quite as good as attacking, but I don't really need that from a central midfield player. Same technical, better in the air, slightly worse mentals, but then he is 3 years older, so I imagine his mentals will catch up. If we can get £10 million for McGeehan, £8 million on this guy who's better than him and 3 years younger, seems like good business. We're building a team that can get promoted again in 2 years' time. I think that's kind of all we can do. I don't think we can build anything beyond that. But I'm happy with that signing. The board are happy with that signing. So fingers crossed he'll turn into a good player for us. We have made it through to the 1st of July, so that just confirms a couple of the other transfers. One slightly controversial one, Tom Richardson, who was a youngster who had 4-star potential, has gone to Stoke. But you know what? They wanted him. He wanted to go there, and we had this guy as another 4-star potential or 3.5-star potential centre-back, same age, who wanted to come in. So I've kind of just done a swap. He comes in from Tottenham. He goes to Stoke. We make a little bit of profit out of the deal. We've loaned out a couple of our other promising youngsters. So Thomas Hargreaves is an even better young centre-back. So I think we could probably afford to let that guy go because we've still got that one. Miguel Aziz, who's been knocking around for a little while, he goes out on loan to try. I mean, if we'd have been in the Championship again this year, he might have stuck around. As it is, he can go out and play in League Two for a bit. Wilkes confirmed that he's gone to Konyaspor. We've also, in addition to signing Maggior and Clark, we've also brought in Brandon Williams on a free transfer from Manchester United. I acknowledge we didn't need another left back, but this guy, he's a very good left back. He's a complete wing back who fits into our system perfectly. He can play anywhere up the left-hand side, can also provide cover on the right-hand side. He's been playing in the Championship for 5 years on loan at Huddersfield, Blackburn, Bristol City, Huddersfield, Bristol City again. So nearly 200 Championship games before the age of 23. And Manchester United were releasing him. He's as good or better than the two we've already got. We could probably let Jayden Brown move on if anyone wants to offer anywhere near his value for him. But I couldn't turn down the opposition to the chance to sign someone like Williams because unlike these two, he's got absolutely bags of potential. So finance-wise, we've still got most of our budget to play with, and this is what the team report looks like on the 1st of July. So striker-wise, we've got Hornby and Brivio. We need another striker. We're going to be bringing in another striker because if either of those two pick up an injury, we have nothing now. Mavididi is gone. So a striker is a priority. On the left-hand side, we've got Chong, who really needs to be competing with Brown on the right-hand side. Now we've removed Wilkes as an option. I guess what we should really be doing is considering Brown and Chong as our right-hand side. On the left, I think I'm probably going to move Chapman on. I don't think he's a Premier League player. So we probably need to bring in 2 left wingers and have Brown and Chong as our right-hand side. Attacking midfield, in fact, we're not looking at this. We're going to be playing this probably. In central midfield, we've got Mowat, McGeehan, Maggior, Rimanotta, Traore. We've got lots of good central midfielders. We probably need a really good defensive midfielder who's natural there. Mowat, Ekwa, Clarkson, they can all do it. Ekwa, and Clarkson have good potential, but if we can bring in a proper 4-star defensive midfielder, I think that would be good, but it's a lower priority than a striker and at least 1 left winger. Centre-back wise, Stevens, Tanganga, very good. Diaby, good behind him. Ekwa, and Sam Kadiri, Sam Karadzi. I think we're fine for centre-backs. Left-back wise, we've got 3 good ones now, Burt, Brown and Williams. Right back, we're good, Williams and Livramento. And in goal, we've got Woodman and Hilson as 2 very good options there, plus youngsters. So I think defensively we're set. A defensive midfielder, a left winger or 2, a striker, and then see how much money we've got left. That's the plan for the rest of the summer. And almost immediately, we have one of those left wingers. Timofey Tillman is a 25-year-old American international, 3 goals from 7 starts for the USA. He is a natural left winger with a right foot, so can play as an inverted winger or an inside forward. He's the man I've wanted for a year. We've managed to pick him up super cheap as well. Comes in for £2.5 million from Union Berlin, formerly of Bayern Munich, although he's actually just playing for their backup team. But, let's not worry about that. If we actually look at him, how he fits into the squad, he's a better left winger than either Chong or Chapman. So for £2.5 million, we've brought in a player who still has a little bit of potential, but he's going to come in and actually be a regular starter in the team, improve the side as an inside forward or an inverted winger on that left-hand side, and fills a very nice little squad spot there without taking up a huge chunk of our money. We've still got plenty of cash left to play with, and this is what transfers look like. So 10 million spent, 7.5 million in. I think we've definitely improved the squad already. Because I'm sure there's going to be lots of people saying, Cave, you're in the Premier League. Get some Premier League players who've been released. I've tried, but looking at the players who've snubbed coming on trial, Chris Smalling, James Milner, Ryan Bertrand, Danilo Pereira. We've got Danny Ings on trial. But a lot of your typical Premier League players who are being released this summer, they ain't coming on trial to Barnsley. They're not interested in coming to play for Barnsley. Our reputation is still only 3-star. We're still a mid-table championship team reputation-wise. So anyone who thinks they're better than a mid-table championship player, they ain't coming here, I don't think. It's still happening, even though we're in the Premier League. Oscar Bobb of Manchester City, young winger. He would have been my other winger. He's gone to Burnley, who are in the Championship, even though we offered him more money. So we offered him 30 grand a week. They've offered him 28 grand a week, but he's gone to them because, then in fact, they're not even a 3.5-star team. They're a 3-star team, just like us. Why did he go there? Oh. We have signed a player with a fantastic name and a club record. Armstrong Okoflex has joined us from Celtic, £11.75 million. He's actually a player we tried to sign last season. He went on loan somewhere else. There you go. He went on loan to Derby. I tried to get him on loan before he went to Derby. But he starts off at Arsenal, ended up going to Celtic, has been doing the tour around the Scottish Premiership, played for Derby last year. I was trying to bring him in last year with a view to playing him as a winger, but he fits so many boxes for players that we need. He can play up front, but he's also natural out wide. He's natural wide in midfield. And if we have a look at how he fits into this team, if we have a look at him as a striker, he's as good as Hornby. As a left winger, he's as good as Tillman. As a right winger, he's better than both Chong and Brown. I think we have an absolute superstar on our hands there. Armstrong Oko Flex. Remember the name, boys and girls. In addition to that, there's been a couple of other transfers gone on. Callum Slattery is probably the biggest name to have left. He's gone out on loan to Reading for the season. They're paying 100% of his £26,000 a week wages. So considering I'm probably not using an attacking midfielder this year, it makes sense to let him go there. If we end up getting relegated and need him again in the Championship next year, he was only on loan, so it seemed like the perfect solution for that. George Best has also gone out on loan to Billericay. They must be so excited. And we also signed Brandon Malloy on loan for the season. Who's Brandon Malloy, you ask? He's our youngster who we had in our youth team when I first joined the club, and we sold him in that first transfer window for £4.3 million. He's one of the players that financed the revolution that has ultimately led to us joining the Premier League. And we've brought him in on loan for the year because I would like to bring him home now. If we can survive in the Premier League this year, it will become a priority to sign Brandon Malloy back permanently. He's obviously not going to be straight into the team this year. He's only a League One player at the moment, but he's already almost as good as McGeehan and Traore. He's got the potential to be incredible. I want him home. So we've got him back, at least temporarily. With those transfers, we do still have money to spend, still £16 million to go out there and play with. If we look at the team report, I think I've already got almost everything I wanted. Striker-wise, we're now sorted with those three, and the flexibility of Oko Flex, of Chong, means I think we're probably good for attacking midfield as well. Remember, we've still got Beera as well, who's probably only going to get in the team in these positions. Central midfield, we're definitely sorted. The defence and the goalkeepers, we already knew we were sorted. So with that last £16 million, if we're committing to this 4-3-3, I think we need to go out and spend it on a defensive midfield player. So if we have a look on our scouting and see what we can get, we probably don't even need to just be looking at under 23s now. We need to be signing someone who's going to be very good in that role. See, this is the problem. Finding anybody who might be in our price range who could slot into that role. Hamza Chowdhury. Why does that name seem familiar? It can't be because he's a real-life footballer. There must be another reason. I'd ideally have a playmaker back there. He's too expensive. The thing is, I'm not going to spend that kind of money on somebody. We need to find a defensive midfielder. That's our new job. We missed out on another one. He's gone to Espanyol instead of coming to us. Again, we offered him more money. But again, the temptation to go to a club who are a bigger club than us is just too much. He would have been the perfect defensive midfielder for us to bring in. Alas, it was not to be. Well, this is an interesting one. I've been offered the England manager's job, having never managed a Premier League game. I'm obviously going to take it because it's £74,000 a week. I don't have to leave Barnsley to do it. And by doing so, it's going to hugely boost up my reputation, unless I do really badly, which means the next club we go to after Barnsley should be a big one. But this is mad. I've never been England manager 5 years into a save before. Absolutely insane. Kev is England manager. We have made another signing. Dale Frey comes in as a new centre-back, probably centre-back partner for Tanganga as first choices. They seem to be the two top ones at the club now, but for £3.8 million, I think it was. Experience playing in the Premier, or okay, not the Premier League. I saw Leicester and thought it was Premier League. Either way, he's got lots of experience playing in England previously. I think that's probably a decent player to bring in for a decent price. We've still got over £13 million to throw at a defensive midfielder if one comes up. But I think by bringing him in, we are adding some strength in depth in an area where we have lost a little bit because Ekwa has gone out on loan for the season, also to Reading. Harry Chapman has left the club for £500,000 as well. And there's no chance of Theo Duncan playing this season because he's also gone out on loan. So we probably need, well, we definitely need a defensive midfielder now. With Ekwa gone, I am kind of putting my eggs in the we're going to sign a new one basket because he's the best one at the club at the moment. And I'm thinking he's not going to get game time because we're bringing in at least one player over the top of him. We just need to find that player now. Pre-season odds are in, and as you would expect, we are very much expected to get relegated straight back down again. Let's just have a little look at the Media Dream 11. I assume we've got loads of players. We've got no players in it. As you would expect. The interesting thing is we've made it to the Premier League so quickly. There's a whole load of actual real players in it still, which we never get here this quickly. That's quite interesting. All these new managers this summer. I got offered the England job, but not the Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool or Man City job. Who of all... There's a weird one. So Guardiola went to Liverpool and Klopp went to City. What? They've just swapped this summer, have they? So Guardiola was sacked at Man City on the 19th of May. Jurgen Klopp was sacked by Liverpool the next day. And then a week later, they were both announced as the new managers of their opposite clubs. Football. We've had it happen again. We were chasing Jordan Byrne for like 2 weeks. We offered so much money for him, as in wages. He would have been an awesome addition to the squad as another striker. We offered to pay him over 10 grand a week. He's gone to Bournemouth, who are going to pay him 4.8. Again, it can only be reputation. Jordan, you realise I'm the England manager and you're English. Does that not go in my favour at all? Sam Karadze might be leaving because we've got too many good defenders now, and he's not that great. I mean, you could argue maybe sell Diaby instead, but at least we know what we're getting with Diaby. So Sam Karadze can go, and we can go with Frey, Tanganga, Stevens and Diaby as our 4 for the new season. That's what I'm thinking at the moment. It is transfer deadline day. We have done no more business. If ever there was a time for my director of football to step in and find a great defensive midfielder for me, now is that time. Cross fingers. Hope he's listening. I guess he wasn't listening then. I feel like I did last summer, where there's still gaps in the squad, but then we got promoted last summer or last year, so maybe that's not a bad thing. There's some big transfer fees get thrown around in this Premier League. Yikes. So this is what we ended up. We did bring in one more player, not anyone you're going to see anytime soon, a young striker, Dom Irving. He was a youngster from Liverpool who we just brought in just to fill out the under-23s more than anything. So £26 million spent, £9 million in. The headlines are that we've sold Mavididi, we've sold Wilkes, and we've sold Chapman and Ekwa Alimbi, which I think that's going to end up being a big decision because we've let him out on loan and not replaced him, which could end up being a big problem. But then I think if we're finding ourselves having to play him as the defensive midfielder, then maybe we shouldn't be using a defensive midfielder. I'm hoping Maggior can slot into that role. That's my thinking at the moment. So he's big signing number 1. Brandon Williams, I think, is going to be a very important player. Tillman is the left winger I've been looking for years. And of course, the star man, Armstrong Oko Flex. I'm expecting a lot from him. And then Dale Frey comes in as a centre-back to finish the squad off. It's not a bad squad. We've got depth in every position. I just wish we had something a little more here. We're gonna have to see how that's going to work out. First game of the season, though, will be in tomorrow's episode. Newcastle and Huddersfield. Just a little bit on England, because I know some of you will probably have questions about that. My thoughts on the England job, because I've barely mentioned it in this video, other than the fact I now have the job. I know in previous years, I've kind of shown every England game and gone really in-depth with England, and it's maybe not been as popular as it might have been. So my thoughts on England right now, I'll just show you the major tournaments. So Nations League finals, if we get to them, Euros, World Cup, everything else in between, I can just keep you up to date with in the normal videos. And yeah, so every now and again, there'll be a World Cup where there'll be maybe 3 or 4 days in a row where your non-league to legend video is a World Cup, and then normal service resumes afterwards. But I'm thinking that's probably the best way to do it, especially because it still feels like we're relatively early in the story this year, although that is a big step forward and we're now in the Premier League. So who knows where we might be in a year. We've seen all of the big clubs in the Premier League get new managers this summer, apart from Man United. So if they perform and he gets sacked, maybe I go there. Or maybe they fail and I end up at one of them. Who knows what will happen over the course of the next season. We could get relegated, I get fired, and I'm just sat with the England job waiting for anything else to materialise. That's quite possible as well. I feel like the England job is a safety net, where if I get fired, I'm probably not going to have to go back down to League One, because I've got that reputation boost from being England manager. Because my reputation now, 3-star. If we win anything with England, even a few matches, then that's going to boost up probably bigger than Barnsley and allow me to make that next step onto a new club. Maybe. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of the transfer window, though. I think it's a good one, but not as good as it could have been if that guy who went to Espanyol rather than signing for us, if we'd have got him, it would have been a perfect transfer window for what we needed to do. I'm not particularly hopeful about staying up, but I might be more hopeful this time tomorrow after we've seen our first couple of games at this level. If you've enjoyed that video, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.